IPC, good to be with you. We're studying the Father's 10 good words, and we're here in the 9th good word, which is, you shall not bear false witness or false testimony against your neighbor. Just a couple chapters after the 10 commandments, in Exodus chapter 23, verse 1, we are told that we are not to be or to admit witnesses of violence. Several weeks ago, at the beginning of the race protests in the United States, on the same day when George Floyd was killed, there was a woman in Central Park who was walking her dog and not using a leash. And this was a white woman, black man was around and said, "Hey, you need to leash your dog." She said no. He said, "I'm going to videotape you. And he began to do that. She threatened to call the police on him and to say that he, a black man, was threatening her harm. And the whole uproar about this was, of course, that she was going to try to use his race with the police to endanger him. And she was threatening him with the use of the cops. She was, in a sense, not in a courtroom, but in the Ramble in Central Park in New York City. But she was bearing false witness against her neighbor. She was a witness of violence. She didn't lift up her hand against him, but her very words, "I'm going to call the cops and tell them that an African-American man is threatening me," were not just false, but were also putting him in great danger. We cannot be witnesses of violence, and we can't listen to witnesses of violence either. But I want you to think about how Jesus is the exact opposite of this. Jesus doesn't make up any untruths about us. He comes as the true and perfect judge who sees us and knows us through and through. He sees who we are, he sees what we've done, and he speaks the truth about that, but then he speaks a word of pardon to us. When you are a witness of violence, you speak untruth in order to harm someone. Jesus speaks the truth and then speaks a word of pardon that saves us from the harm that we've gotten ourselves into and from condemnation with our God. Thanks be to God, Jesus is not a witness of violence, but a witness of peace, and in fact, took the violence that we had coming to us away from us, saved us by his truth and by his grace. Thanks be to God that we have Jesus, not a witness of violence, but a witness of God's own word of peace. Take that to heart and be a witness not of violence, but of peace in the days to come.